Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. We at the Vedanta Society of Western Washington are honored and pleased to have Pravrajika Krishnaprana to give us this Wednesday Gospel class. You know, it's very easy to speak about a monastic and at the same time extremely difficult. For the simple reason is the external trappings have become irrelevant after years of living a monastic life, especially a senior monastic life. There's a very rich interior life which cannot be articulated. And that's the reason why it becomes easy and at the same time difficult to introduce monastics. However,
we'll give it a try.
Over the years, Pravrajika Krishnaprana has looked after the 45 acres of Santa Barbara Convent. And it's one of the most beautiful places, exquisite in its beauty and its spirituality. And to run that place needs both toughness and softness. And you find this both in our sister Krishnaprana.
Which is out tonight, tough or soft.
She has had a very, very long monastic life. She met Swami Prabhavananda in Santa Barbara in 1968. She had just finished her teaching job and she was looking out for a sunnier climate than Seattle, where she was raised. And so this is significant because she coming here is in a way a homecoming. Welcome home, sister.
Thank you. And you gave me the perfect weather. It's been sunny.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I hope you never made a mistake of going to Santa Barbara then. We are better.
Oh. Well.
We would like you to speak a little on Swami Prabhavananda. He was a very great soul. And before she formally joined the convent, she lived, worked, volunteered in Santa Barbara amongst the senior nuns and with Swami Prabhavananda, whom she served till he passed away. He was truly a great soul. And she did also meet Swami Vividishananda, who was the founder of this Seattle center. And we would like a little reminiscences of Swami Vividishananda, how you saw him. She also was initiated into brahmacharya and sannyasa, monasticism, by Swami Asheshananda. We'd like to hear a little about him. And now you can understand she has been blessed by these very great souls. In fact, it takes, the people, they don't really understand the impact that these souls had on the spiritual life of the country. And she was there receiving it firsthand. She has been looking after Santa Barbara Convent for years and years. And I remember my time in Santa Barbara when I was in the Vedanta Society of Southern California. It's one of the most beautiful temples I've ever seen. Oh, it is amazing. One of the things I miss is the temple and the folks who make that temple. And that includes Krishnaprana. She was the perfect host, and that place is amazing. So we have an amazing Krishnaprana here.
I'm not sure I can live up to this.
Who will give this gospel reading. Before she goes into it, she would like to reminisce about Swami Prabhavananda, Swami Vividishananda, and Swami Asheshananda.
We can also include Pavitrananda.
Pavitrananda, Swami Pavitrananda, Swami Ranganathananda, yes.
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 They all came to Santa Barbara. I don't need those to talk. Well, Swami has pretty much told you. I was teaching in Hawaii. I got a job there when I graduated from college. And I didn't know there were places in the world that had sunshine year-round. I came back to Washington after my 2 years down there. And I went, oh, okay. I love Washington. I grew up here and right on the Sound. But sunshine was a big pull. And so 6 of us in a Volkswagen van in 1968 went down the coast, on the trip to see California. And the person who owned the van was looking for something spiritual. I was along for the ride and to see the sunshine. So we arrived we stopped in San Francisco. We didn't go into the temple. We met Eknatheshwaran there. And he invited all of us to join his ashram, and we're on our way down south. So we got to Santa Barbara, and the person who was looking for spirituality and teaching and religion knew a woman who had got married and lived right near the temple. She had spent years finishing high school in the convent. She was not a nun. She was someone whose mother was not available for parenting. So she stayed in the convent there. So she said, as we stopped at her house, would you like to go up and meet my teacher? He's here this week. And everyone went, yeah. And I went, sure. with about that much enthusiasm, sure. And so we walked up the hill and went into the living room in Santa Barbara. And there sat Swami Prabhavananda, or Swami P as we called him. Hmm. And he was just sitting in the living room reading the newspaper. He had on Western pants, a nice shirt, a sweater, and he greeted us very, very hospitably. Oh, you've come. This is wonderful. Come tell me who you are and what you're doing. And what do you think of Vietnam? And how are you doing with Martin Luther King? He's a Bengali, loved politics. Okay. So we discussed all of these things. And then we left, and he invited us back again, please come back. And I kind of went, well, I wasn't looking for anything, but the peace that he exuded and the mood and the love that he exuded just with this super casual talk about everyday life was appealing. And so we came to see him probably 3 more times on that visit while he was there. And about that time, I had quit my job in Hawaii, and I thought, well, I can teach anywhere. So I'll move to Santa Barbara. And did get a job down there went to the temple. Now, this is going to sound really bad. I only went to the temple when he was talking. I missed Swami Vandanananda. I missed Swami
Oh.
Ritajananda and a couple of others because I was only interested in Swami Prabhupada. He was the one I had met and went, yep. And basically it was, I just loved him. He reminded me sort of, it was like when I walked in, he knew me and I knew him, and then it was nothing. It was just we knew each other. And he kept saying, well, come back. So moved down to Santa Barbara, taught school there, and went to the temple only on his weekends. And every morning before school, I would cook something and take it for his breakfast. I also brought, when he was leaving Santa Barbara, everyone came to say goodbye to him in the living room, and he usually left on Tuesday mornings. So I was teaching at a private school, and the class was only 10 kids. So I just piled them all into the car and took them up to say goodbye to Swami. I'm not sure that was legal, but in those days they weren't that concerned. And then after, 3 years in 1972, I went to see him and I said, well, I think I should move into the convent because I went to all of his classes too. I didn't read the gospel. It kind of annoyed me with the translation of Women in Gold in the 60s. That really annoyed me. So I was not fond of the gospel. But I did get other messages. They said you should live with your teacher and see that he is the real thing and see that what he teaches, he lives every minute, day and night. And so I said, I think I should move into the convent because it says that, and I believe that. And you're kind of old, and you probably won't be around much longer. What to say? And he said, I see. Yes. Okay. Well, I think you should too. Now, when can you move in? And I said, well, I've got to clean up a couple household things and get rid of some furniture and do this. This was how he was. He said, brother, that was Krishnananda, Swami Krishnananda, get my checkbook. How much money do you need? And I went, oh, no. I'll be there in a week. We'll just get it taken care of. So I did. What I found out later, it was on Swami Swahananda's birthday, June 29th in 1972. But I didn't know that then. It was very interesting because I was supposed to move in on July 1st, and I jumped the gun. And so then you've already gotten a slight hint that I might have been a little brash with him. I was living in the convent, and I think it was in September, one of the very senior nuns, one of the first 5, Satyaprana, was cooking him suppers. And she was making soup, and she was a wonderful cook. But he was always teaching us. And she came out of his room in the evening, and she says, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm trying to make the soup tasty for him, and he's going, don't innovate. Just make the soup. Don't innovate. And because I was me, I went, I'll do it. And she said, okay.
I see.
So I started cooking for him within 3 months of moving into the convent and continued that until he died. That was my major job. I mean, convent living but it was always taking care of him when he was in Santa Barbara. Now, Swami Vivedishananda and he were very close. And Swami Vivedishananda came down every summer when the center closed here, and spent some time with Swami in Malibu, in Hollywood, and in Santa Barbara. So he would stay in the convent. They both stayed in the convent when they were in Santa Barbara. And he would come in, and we would chat, just chat, because I had also been coming to visit him up here in Seattle when I came to see my parents. I was an only child, so Swami P made me come up and see them every year so that they knew we were not doing something weird in the 60s. You're not joining a cult. You're not doing this. Yes. Stay close to your family. Let them know that we love our families. We can love our family as well as God. We see the God in them. So I would dutifully come up, and I would make as much excuses as I could to either. Well, I came to see Swami Vivekananda probably, I had to spend 2 weeks, so probably 3 days every week, 6 days out of 2 weeks, I'd come up and have lunch with him. And we would just sit at the kitchen table and have lunch together. And he just talked about, I was not a big one for asking spiritual questions, because being in their presence answered all my questions. And so we could just talk, and he would tell me some of the things that Maharaj had told him. And we would talk about what the center was doing. And Swami P was awful. He liked to joke. Now that we have a picture of all the Swamis, and Swami P is holding a cigarette in front of Vivekananda, who was appalled by it, but he's got a cigarette right in front of him. And when he was down in Santa Barbara one time, our dining room looks out over the ocean, and to go to our small shrine, you go out a door, but there's a couple of rocky steps. And, you know, when you're very young in the order, you try to be as respectful as you possibly can to the senior monks. And he was starting down there, and all I could think of was, I want to grab him so he won't fall. And I was just thinking it, and I wasn't going to touch him because he's one of the senior monks, right? And he turned to me and he says, well, aren't you going to hold me so I don't fall? And so I took his arm, and he was telling me, you know, sometimes when we're old and when we walk with 3 legs instead of 2, our canes, and we walk with our cane, we need some help. I mean, it was very much kind of a family situation. It was not like we were monks and they were nuns. It was like they were grandfathers and uncles and we were their children and their daughters. And it was that kind of a atmosphere that was in Santa Barbara. All the devotees were part of the family. Anyone could walk in any door anytime. And Swami P would usually, if he was there, would be sitting in the living room, ready to talk to anyone. Swami Sheshananda used to come down also. He usually came down for events, vows, and special occasion. Swami Pavitrananda came every summer for a week or so. And people asked, do we have formal teaching and classes? And I went, not really. But every lunch with Swami Pavitrananda and Swami Prabhavananda was a discussion of whether it's self-effort or grace. And Swami Pavitrananda always took the side of self-effort. And Swami P always took the side of grace. And they would argue it through the entire lunch. And guess what the conclusion was? Seriously, guess what it was? Both. You have to make the effort, but the grace is always there. And they put that in our minds so solidly. Now, Swami Pavitrananda would come in the morning when we're cooking breakfast for them. and we have a piano in the living room. And he would sit down very quietly and play the piano for us, whoever was cooking in the kitchen. And his favorite song was All My Sorrows Have Been Lifted, which was one of Maharaj's favorite songs. What is it in Bengali?
Yeah.
All my sorrows have been lifted since seeing thy face.
Yeah.
And he would play that over and over again for us. So I don't know the Bengali song. I can't tell you what it is. Okay, so then Swami Sheshananda, how did we get so close to him? We had a nun move in, Devi Prana, who moved in April Fool's Day, 1976. And I know everyone thought it was a joke. And Swami P at that time was way too sick to do initiations. He was in congestive heart failure. He'd had almost died on June 1st and then semi-rallied. He had called all the monastics to him in the hospital on June 1st, like Maharaj had done when he was dying. And we all piled down to the hospital in Los Angeles, and all 50 of us went into his room, 2 by 2, and he gave us all, a final blessing and a final, do this with your life. So everyone had their, kind of final instructions from him. Then he rallied, and he went back to the center. But Swami, in the meantime, asked Devi Prana, which of the Swamis are you drawn to get initiated by? She hadn't even gotten a mantra at that time. And she said, Swami Sheshananda. And he said, yes, that's a good one for you. So we made sure she got up to see Sheshananda probably twice a year. And she talked to him on the phone. And it was a blessing for everyone there, because usually 1 or 2 nuns would accompany her. We had 12 in the convent at the time, so 2 nuns going somewhere, 3 nuns going somewhere was fine. We could get along for a week and a half. So we got to be very close to a Sheshananda. And when I would come up to see my parents, I would try and go down to see him. And I think many of you, if you have heard this story, my parents decided that they would go down with me to meet him. Now, they were good Episcopalians, not interested in Vedanta at all, except that I was here. So we got to Swami Sheshananda, and he greeted us in the foyer. And greeted us. He was so sweet. He was just exuding hospitality, love. And you don't know how blessed you are. Your daughter is in the convent. You have no idea what a blessing this is. You must be very special people. I'm going to get you some prasad. Well, they didn't have a clue what prasad was, but that was okay. It was so sweet. They absolutely adored him. He walked out of the foyer, closed the door, and started screaming at one of the monks at the top of his lungs. You get out. You don't belong here. You've done everything wrong. Bah, 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 bah. And then he came in with the plate of prasad. And he came in and he said, he knew my mother was diabetic, and he said, I made this one for you, and this one's for my father. And he says, you have this one, and I'll go get you some drinks. And he walked back out through the door, bam, shouting at the top of his lungs. Well, my dad was laughing so hard, he said, I almost wet my pants. I was laughing so hard. And Swami Sheshananda came back in, and he presented the drinks and told us that we were welcome anytime, and please come down. If you want to drive down from Seattle, come see me. This is such an honor to meet the parents of monastics. My dad, when we left, he said, is he always like that? And I went, yeah, pretty much. Now, another story which I was not there for. He was going out to Scappoose with 3 of our nuns, Devi Prana, Bhavaprana and Vrajaprana. And Mrs. Vera Edwards was driving. And it was always Mrs. Vera Edwards. And she was in charge of Holy Mother's house and worked, they had a full-time job and in charge of Holy Mother's house, okay? So she's driving on the freeway to Scappoose. And all of a sudden, Swami says, back up. You missed the exit. Back up. And they're going 70 miles an hour down the freeway. And she backed up and went back to the exit. Well, Devi Prana said, I was pounding on the back of the front seat that he was in. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Bhava Prana just went. And Raja Prana, who'd been in a bad car accident, said, I braced for whiplash. And then it was all fine. And they said, we slept the entire way. We had so much adrenaline going. We just slept the rest of the way to Scappoose. At the end of the story, Mrs. Vera Edwards came down to visit her daughter who was living in Santa Barbara. And they told her this story, and she went, I don't remember that. There was never any danger in anything Swami told me to do. And they went, oh. Okay. I don't know what I would have done at 70 miles an hour down the freeway in Portland. Back up in the fast lane? Oh, sure, right. Back up. Okay. I'm not sure I would have that kind of unquestioning faith in my guru. I mean, that to me, that was just unbelievable. That she didn't even bat an eye. Not even bat an eye. There was nothing wrong. He never put her in danger. And I looked at it and I thought, do I have that much faith? Do I have that much? And, you know, I think about it quite often because you wonder if you really do. Do you really depend on the Lord that much? Do we really have that faith that everything, that we don't do anything and the Lord does everything? I don't know. I don't think it's something that comes immediately. I think it has to grow. Well, it certainly did for in my case. Well, yeah. I would probably do almost anything Swami P told me to do. I'm not sure I would have jumped off a cliff or backed up on the freeway, but I would do most everything he said. But why do we do that kind of thing? I mean, why do we have that kind of faith? As far as the way I've analyzed it, it's love. You love them unquestioningly. And so you don't question anything they tell you to do. Because you know that they have nothing but your best at heart. Now, Swami Yesheshan, he came down to give us our vows. It was a short brahmacharya first and then sannyas. 4 years. That we're going. He came down in 80. Let's see, it would have been 6 or 72, 80, 70.
Yeah.
Probably 1980.
Yeah, 1980.
1980 he came down because there was a great number of us that had to take vows. There were quite a few had been waiting because Swami P had been so sick. And one of the things when you take vows, you get up at 4 in the morning and the vows start. They started at 7. Now, we were supposed to be fasting all this time, you know, the ones who were taking vows. And it's at 7, okay? Because he stayed up most of the night and slept in the early morning. So I realized you can adjust anything practically if you're Holy Mother's disciple.
Yeah.
He also was wonderful when you'd go stay with him. he was a great tour guide. He wanted everyone to see everything. Everyone had to go see Mount Hood because that was Shiva. The best view of Mount Hood was in the bar in the hotel. So here was this elderly man in a World War I fur-lined cap with ear flaps, carrying grocery bags. And his jackets were not the cleanest because they all belonged to a very beloved Swami whom he adored, and you couldn't touch them. So here was this little man walking along, and a great, 5 or 6 people following him through the bar over to the big window, Shiva. And then he would pass out prasad from the paper bags, and he gave it to, my memory is he even gave it to anyone who was standing around looking. But that may be wrong. It may have been, I was just so kind of, really? We're doing this? And then you also had to go to the fish ladder at the salmon run in the river.
Bonneville Dam.
Bonneville Dam, thank you. Always had to go to the fish ladder because the salmon, monastic life is just like the salmon run. You're going against the stream, going against the stream. You must keep going. And it was interesting and fun, but he was always teaching you basically the highest truths in this way. I mean, it was visual. The fish are battling their way up and dying, trying. And he says, this is spiritual life. So, I think that's, yes.
Did you meet Swami Ashokananda also?
No, I never did. I believe, do you know when he died, Swami? I think he had just died when we went down there because we always stopped to see Swami Swahananda, who was in the Berkeley Center, on the way back up to Seattle. Oh, I'll tell you when. We visited him on the day of People's Park when they called out the National Guard. And as you know, the Berkeley Center is right across from People's Park. Okay, so we're standing there, and here's the National Guard coming with all of the plastic covers. And I said, Swami, you better come with us. This is not going to be safe. This is really bad. And he said, no, I must stay with the center. I said, really, come with us. We'll take you to somewhere else. No, I must stay with the center. So probably right before he died, probably 2000, I was saying, Swami, do you remember that day? And he says, oh, yes, I remember that day. And I said, well, how did it turn out? I saved the garbage can. And I went, you what? Someone had put it out on the curb, and he went out and grabbed it and took it back in. And I thought, even that is for me, was a very deep spiritual teaching. You do your duty. He was not one to go grab a garbage can. That was someone else's job. But because he was the head of Berkeley Center, he took that very seriously and saved the garbage can. And I thought, okay. It wasn't all sitting and reading the scriptures. A lot of it was them talking about what had happened in India and how they were, you've read the stories in The Eternal Companion. When Swami, who was it? I think it was Shivananda, kept telling, might have been Maharaj, kept telling Swami P to go offer Premananda the best wine in Calcutta. Now, Premananda was horrified. It was Premananda, wasn't it? And Swami P following, it was Brahmananda, because he would have followed the others, but he kept going, Swami, Maharaj sent the finest wine in Calcutta, and go away, don't do that. And Maharaj walked in and he says, "Brother, you don't like grape juice?" They played jokes on each other all the time. He said it was always, they were, as he said, God's walking on earth, pretending to be people. And it was Swami Subodhananda, Swami P was quite close to. And he said he was helping one day. He wasn't in Bellarmont all that long because he was sent to the U.S. pretty fast.
Yeah.
But he was there, and Subodhananda, it was rest time, and he says, "Here, sleep on my cot with me." And Swami was, "I can't go on this holy man's cot." And he says, "Yes, you can." And he said, that's how they treated everyone. There wasn't a lot of distance and formality. So, I don't know. What I gleaned from it was religion shouldn't be for the long-faced who are, I have to do this and I have to do that. It's all fun to do if you love them. It's not a duty. It's a pleasure. And you don't even think about doing it. It just comes. It's interesting, that's the way they behaved. I mean, they would go all out for their devotees too. Yeah. So shall we read the gospel?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, we'll see. Okay. This is chapter 10. I don't know where you are. Now, in Santa Barbara, we're terribly routine. I was told that what we do is we trudge through the gospel. We just read it. And every week we just read the next section. And then when we finish it, we start over again. So when Swami said, pick a section, I went, I don't know how to do that. But I had help. The master with the Brahmo devotees. April 22nd, 1883. So this was pretty early on when Emma just hadn't had that much time with him. Sri Ramakrishna paid a visit to Benny Madhav Paul's house at Sinti near Calcutta on the occasion of the semi-annual festival of the Brahmo Samaj. Many devotees of the Samaj were present and sat around the master. Now and then, some of them asked him a question. Brahmo devotee, "Sir, what is the way?" Now there's a very deep question. How do you tell someone in 2 seconds? But the master said, first love and then prayer. So we got the 2-point answer, which really covers it all. I mean, Swami Pravrajika also told me something. He said, if you understand what you're teaching, you can say it in very few words, and it will be simple enough for anyone to understand. If you have to talk for hours and hours and hours, it's usually because it's not super clear in your head. Now, I don't necessarily agree with him, because I heard some of the other swamis who were great at explaining these things, and they could talk for an hour and a half, and it was every ounce of it was wonderful. But that was Swami P's idea. Okay, so love and then prayer. Yeah, attachment to God, or in the other words, love for him, and secondly, prayer. But which comes first? Love comes first and then prayer. The master sang, "Cry to your mother, Shyama, with a real cry, O mind, and how can she hold herself from you? How can Shyama stay away?" Continuing, the master said, and one must always chant the name and glories of God and pray to him. An old metal pot must be scrubbed every day. What is the use of cleaning it only once? Further, one must practice discrimination and renunciation. One must be conscious of the unreality of the world. Now, I don't know if anyone else has done this, but some of us, when nuns clean a lot. They clean a lot. And you kind of want to get it done and not have to come back every day, and so that it's kind of a little lazy, but you clean really hard and then you just brush up each day. And Ramakrishna says that's not the way to do it. That's not how you do spiritual life. You don't make a masterful effort one day and then kind of sit back and rest for 2 days and then make masterful effort again. You make the masterful effort every day. So the Brahma devotee then, is it good to renounce the world? Master, not for all. Those who have not yet come to the end of their enjoyments should not renounce the world. How can one get drunk on 2 annas worth of wine? Brahmo, then should they lead a worldly life? Master, yes. They should try to perform their duties in a detached way. Before you break the jackfruit open, rub your hands with oil so that the sticky milk will not smear them. The maidservant in a rich man's house performs all of her duties, but her mind dwells on her home in the country. These are examples of doing duty in a detached way. You should renounce the world only in your mind. But a sannyasi should renounce the world both inwardly and outwardly. And I think that I find Ramakrishna's analogies and examples so extremely simple to put for your spiritual life. I mean, yeah, I always have a hard time explaining them because I thought, okay. And when you can't, I know I understand, don't renounce the world if you still hanker after enjoyments. You have to finish those. And then taking up a life of renunciation is not an austerity. It's actually, when you take up a life of renunciation, you actually make a choice and you say, no, this is the way that I can realize God. This is it. If you haven't finished with your enjoyments, then do it and live a good householder's life and help, be around like company, have a good job that provides enough money so that you can help others, not to hurt anyone with your job. Have a dharmic job where you are unselfish at the same time, and you can earn lots of money being unselfish if you maintain your moral center. It's harder, but that's what the austerity for a householder is, I think. You don't take shortcuts like Ramakrishna used to get kind of put out with, was it Surrender, who told a few lies in his work? Because he had to. Yeah. It was the nature of the work. And those tarnish you a little. Okay. The Brahmo then asks, what is the meaning of the end of enjoyments? Master, I mean the enjoyment of lust and greed. It is risky to put a typhoid patient in a room where pitchers of water and jugs of pickled tamarind are kept. Most people don't feel any longing for God unless they have once passed through the experience of wealth, name, fame, creature comforts, and the like. That is to say, unless they have seen through these enjoyments and realize how temporary they are, that they don't give you real happiness. Brahmo, is it really bad? Who is really bad, man or woman? I love this question in the 60s. I would go, and Master, as there are women endowed with Vidya Shakti, so also are women with Avidya Shakti. A woman endowed with spiritual attributes leads a man to God. But a woman who's the embodiment of delusion makes him forget God and drowns him in the ocean of worldliness. Well, we didn't hear that he told the women the same thing about men. They didn't put that in the gospel, but he did.
He did.
He did all the time when he was at Gorima's house. But M wasn't there, so it's not in the gospel. But it is a gospel truth. This universe is created by the Mahamaya of God. Mahamaya contains both Vidyamaya, the illusion of knowledge, and Avidyamaya, the illusion of ignorance. Now you notice he says illusion of knowledge and illusion of ignorance. Okay, keep that in mind. Through the help of Vidyamaya, one cultivates such virtues as the taste for holy company, knowledge, devotion, love, and renunciation. This is what I said, when you've finished with those, you're not forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. That's what you want to do because you finished with the other. Avidyamaya consists of the 5 elements and the objects of the 5 senses: form, flavor, smell, touch, and sound. These make one forget God. Brahmo, if the power of avidya is the cause of ignorance, then why has God created it? Master, that is his play. The glory of light cannot be apparent without darkness. Happiness cannot be understood without misery. Knowledge is of good as possible because there's knowledge of evil. I remember the first time I heard that, I thought about that, and I thought, well, I don't know. And then, but the more you think about it, it's absolutely true. You have to have the pairs of opposites, or you have no reference. And you have to distinguish between the two all the time. And the way we were told to discriminate was those that lead you towards your goal are good, and those that lead you away from the goal, distract you, make you waste time, the internet, the telephone, all of these things. I mean, maybe they can help you. I don't know. I swore I was never going to have one, but I do. And now I text and I look at Instagram and all those things that I thought were a waste of time. And yes, I waste my time sometimes. I call it keeping up.
That's nice.
But you have to do that for yourself. How much does it take your mind away from God? Now, I know someone who's just into politics in the most ungodly way, and she always wants to talk politics. I don't watch the news because I get irritated. She says, no, I can just watch it, and it just runs off. It's just play to me. I mean, who's doing what now? I don't have that. So that's dangerous for me to get involved in it. She's having fun getting involved in it because she can walk off and leave it. But that's completely individual. You have to know where you are spiritually, what you can leave behind and what you shouldn't indulge in, like too much Instagram or too, you know. Through the help of Vidyamaya, we got that one. Okay, Brahmo, if the power of avidya is the cause of ignorance, then why has God created it? It's his play. Further, the mango grows and ripens on account of the covering of skin. You throw away the skin when the mango is fully ripe and ready to be eaten. It is possible for a man to attain gradually to the knowledge of Brahman because of the covering of skin of Maya. Maya, in its aspects of vidya and avidya, may be likened to the skin of the mango. Both are necessary. And I would say, I've always had trouble with that one. What would you say, Swami?
Oh,
They are necessary.
yes, they are necessary.
But it's like you use the thorn to take out another thorn, and then you have to throw them both away to realize. It's kind of like, I mean, that's the only thing that I can kind of.
Both experiences are
Both,
essential.
yeah,
Both constitute the skin.
Yeah. And they have to be experienced to renounce the experience, to go beyond it. We have to have an experience to know what we're not, to go beyond these experiences. You can't give up something you don't know, right? What can I say? I can give up cricket. I don't know anything about cricket. What am I giving up?
Yeah.
It was, when I was an Episcopalian, it was like Lent. I'm going to give up oatmeal. Pick something you don't like and no austerity. But you have to experience it to know you don't like it too. Okay. Brahmo, sir, is it good to worship God with form, an image of the deity made of clay? Master, you do not accept God with form. That's all right. The image is not meant for you. For you, it is good to deepen your feeling toward your own ideal. From the worshippers of the personal God, you should learn their yearning. For instance, Sri Krishna's attraction for Radha. You should learn from the worshippers of the personal God their love for their chosen ideal. When the believers in the personal God worship the images of Kali and Durga, with what feeling they cry from the depths of their souls, Mother, oh Mother, how much they love the deity. You should accept that feeling. You don't have to accept the image. And Brahma, how does one cultivate the spirit of dispassion? Why don't all attain it? Master, dispassion is not possible unless there's satiety through enjoyment. We're back to that. You have to experience the enjoyment before you can renounce it. You can easily cajole a small child with candies or toys, but after eating the candies and finishing its play, it cries, I want to go to my mother. Unless you take the child to its mother, it will throw away the toy and scream at the top of its voice. Is this when we stop, or do we go straight to 8?
Just a few more minutes.
Okay. The members of the Brahmo Samaj are opposed to the traditional guru system of Orthodox Hinduism. Therefore, the Brahmo devotee asked the master about it. Brahmo, is spiritual knowledge impossible without a guru? Master, Satchidananda alone is the guru. If a man in the form of a guru awakens spiritual consciousness in you, then know for certain that it is God the Absolute who has assumed that human form for your sake. The guru is like a companion who leads you by the hand. After the realization of God, one loses the distinction between the guru and the disciple. That creates a very difficult situation. There, the guru and the disciple do not see each other. It was for this reason that Janaka asked Sukadev, give me first my teacher's fee if you want me to initiate you into the knowledge of Brahman. For the distinction between the teacher and the disciple ceases to exist after the disciple attains to Brahman. The relationship between them remains as long as the disciple does not see God. So, I don't think we need an explanation for that. I think that's very clear. It was dusk. Some of the Brahmo devotees said to the master, perhaps it's time for your evening devotions. Master, no, it isn't exactly that. One should pass through these disciplines in the beginning. Later, one doesn't need the rituals of formal worship or to follow the injunctions. That one is very, very true, but it's very slippery to think that you have passed through them all and don't need to do them anymore. We have to, that was another thing Swami P always told me, because I was I did question. I questioned why we had to do all of these rituals. I didn't question ritual worship. It was, we keep a Hindu pure kitchen because we offer food in our shrine every single day, hot food. And I'd go, well, Swami, you know, you read sometimes, what was her name, who tasted the food before Krishna? She gave it to Krishna so that it was perfect for it. But we're not supposed to taste any food or smell it. And we're supposed to never eat off these dishes and never do this and never do that. And he just looked at me, he says, don't you understand? It's training your mind to think of God first. That's what you do, these things. He said, every one of these things makes you think of God before you think of yourself. And I thought, yeah, it really does. You know, I mean, it's external to begin with, but then you think of God first. Forget yourself. And I thought that made sense to me.
Yes.
I mean, why would we do all these rituals? He doesn't care. God doesn't care whether we do them or not. But they're for our training. And because we have unruly minds, that's why we want to train our mind to keep God in there all the time. That would be my explanation of that. After dusk, the preacher of the Brahmo Samaj conducted the service from the pulpit. The service was interspersed with recitations from the Upanishads and the singing of Brahmo songs. After the service, the master and the preacher conversed. Master, well, it seems to me that both the formless deity and God with form are real. What do you say? Preacher, I compare the formless God to the electric current, which is not seen with the eyes but can be felt. Master, yes, both are true. God with form is as real as God without form. Do you know what describing God as being formless only is like? Excuse me. It is like a man playing only a monotone on his flute, though it has 7 holes. But on the same instrument, another man plays different melodies. Likewise, in how many ways the believers in a personal God enjoy him. They enjoy him through many different attitudes. The serene attitude, the attitude of a servant, a friend, a mother, a husband, or a lover. You see, the thing is somehow or other to get to the lake of the nectar of immortality. Suppose one person gets into it by propitiating the deity with hymns and worship, and you are pushed into it. The result will be the same. Both of you will certainly become immortal. I give the Brahmos the illustration of water and ice. Satchidananda is like an endless expanse of water. The water of the great ocean in cold regions freezes into blocks of ice. Similarly, through the cooling influence of divine love, Satchidananda assumes forms for the sake of the bhaktas. The rishis had the vision of the supersensuous spirit form and talked with it. But devotees acquire a love body, and with its help, they see the spirit form of the Absolute. And I think we're going to stop there.
Yeah.
Please don't ask questions. Do you have any questions?
No questions online also, but if you have...
Any questions here? Okay, thank you.
There. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've left them breathless for more. This is what happens when you have these insights. She has given some wonderful insights through long years of study and association with these holy ones. And today we feel so honored and blessed to have Krishnaprana here. And you know, she is from Seattle and she is a Seattle girl. and she'll always be here for us.
Yes.
And we're going to invite her again. And thank you again very much.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for letting me be here. It's an honor for me.
Oh,
I do love this center. It's,
oh yeah, this is how, yes, this is how we pick up things all our lives.
Swami Vivekananda was the, no, I don't want to put this
Okay,
one on.
okay.
Was the first one who had plastic flowers in the shrine. And we ran out, we had experienced a huge drought. And we had these big brass pots that we filled with water and filled with fresh flowers every week. But we had this huge drought. And then one of the pots sprung a leak and no one could fix it. So we went, we can do artificial flowers too. I love the chrysanthemums that are here now. These are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Vivekananda loved plants
He
and
loved
flowers.
Plants
Yes.
and flowers. Just loved them. So.
We'll Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.